You're listening to Mystic Magic, exploring our spirit to understand our lives. I'm Celeste A. Frazier, your hostess, and today's topic is high vibrations. And my guest is Grammy Award-winning songwriter, singer, climate reality presenter, music educator, sound healer, Darlene Koldenhoven. It's gonna be a wonderful show today. This is Mystic Magic, exploring our spirit to understand our lives. Stay tuned. Hey, Mystic Magic pod fans. We just know that every show is going to be good, but this one is a real hot one. I am so happy to present to you today Miss Darlene Koldenhoven. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her before we welcome her officially in. She's a Grammy Award winner and a 3-time nominee. She has been in a memorable soprano position with Yanni at Live at the Acropolis, and she's worked in the war-torn jungles of Sierra Leone. She's coached musicians and singers on tour in the US and Canada. She's done a lot of work as a vocal coach, as a music director. She was a tambourine waving choir nun in both Sister Act films with Whoopi Goldberg, where she was also the choir director for those films. And she has been spending a lot of time in humanitarian efforts, and she's been doing a lot of concerts all over the world. She's done 10 albums now. Her newest album, Chromatones, won the 2019 Music of the Year Award. And she just keeps performing internationally with her concerts and workshops. And she's sung on over 1,000 recordings, and she's sung on films, television, albums, commercials for all kinds of charitable causes. She sang on stage with Robin Williams. She sang for President Clinton. You know, she's really been giving of herself in so many ways. She's a credentialed teacher in voice, and she graduated with a master's magna cum laude and a BA in music education from Chicago Conservatory College. So she's one of my homegirls. She's a recording artist that has been recording up the yin yang, and she's been inducted, I think, as the first person to be inducted into the Indie Music Hall of Fame. Welcome, Darlene. So good to have you here.
Thank you. What a lovely lead in. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. Who'd imagine a girl from the south side of Chicago ends up with all of this?
Well, hey, I'm from the south side of Chicago. Where's mine?
I know. You had to come out to Los Angeles. That's what did it.
Oh, okay. Well, I lived in LA for about 30 years, so that didn't do it either.
What can you sing?
I'm happy with my life. I sing when I'm around you. I sing on occasion. But there's so much about you that I want to get to today. Like, for instance, like, what inspired you to work in the war-torn jungles of Sierra Leone?
That was one of the high points of my life, to be able to go there and work with musicians there. I had a commission project by the Christian Reformed Church of North America, and they commissioned me to write all the music for a big multimedia event that they were doing. And I was in charge of conducting all the choirs all over the United States and Canada. And they sent me to Freetown and around there in Sierra Leone, West Africa. And I was there for 9 days. And we worked with the musicians there. And I taught them singing and coached them on the work that they were doing. And then we brought them back over to the US for the big concert tour, the US and Canada. So it was really a thrill to go there. And also we did some filming way out deep in the jungles of Sierra Leone, where there was like just dirt roads. And I had one incident that was really kind of scary because the time I was there, it was when they were, burning up everything and the Blood Diamond Wars, and they were amputating people's arms and hands and stuff like that, and so we were out, there was a bunch of us, and we were out in our Jeep, and we were 2 hours into the jungle, and we were on our way back from filming all day. And we were stopped by one of these rebel soldiers with a rifle, and he wanted to confiscate the Jeep. And our guide, Aaron Koldenhoven, I'm Koldenhoven, he was Koldenhoven, which was interesting. And he had grown up there as a child of a missionary since he was 3 years old. And so he could speak the language fluently, which shocked the soldier, of course. And so instead of giving up the Jeep, he convinced the guy, well, we'll give you a ride into town. So I was sitting, our phrase, a shotgun seat. And for me, it was literal, because here's this guy sitting behind me with the gun to my head. And he just smelled horrible. And I'm like hanging my head out the window and go, just shoot me now, because it just smells so bad, But it was really scary. And, we got back, everything was okay. But for a while there, it was touch and go. We weren't sure what was going to happen. And the road was like, deep holes and bouncing all over like this. And you with a guy with a gun to your head, and you're thinking, it could go off at any moment just because you hit a pothole really bad, it was pretty scary. But it was also such a blessing, because to be able to work with the people and see and hear their native instruments and the way they were singing, the call and response styles, and different things like that. And they were the most loving, warm people. And the interesting part, because Sierra Leone is like the poorest country in the world. And these people literally have nothing. I mean, grass shacks is all they live in, right? And they were the happiest people I've ever met. And they had nothing. And it was really profound because, and they had another cool thing too. Saturday morning, everybody had to clean their house and clean the roads. So nobody did any work or went anywhere until noon on Saturday, because everybody had to clean their space, which I thought was really, really good. So, but when I came home and saw in my own home how blessed I am and all the things I have, it really put it in a whole different perspective,
Sure.
To be living here and then visiting there for 9 days and being among people who really have nothing, and we're so happy and generous, and warm. I mean, it was really an amazing, amazing experience.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. A cousin of mine did a lot of missionary work, and she was saying that poor people were very happy. So you can't buy joy.
You can't buy joy. And it makes you think that, having more makes you less happy, because those are more things you have to be responsible for and take care of.
Yeah.
So,
so we know that thoughts are things here at Mystic Magic. What thought led you to the Sister Act films?
Well, that was an interesting one. I do a lot of singing in the studios in Los Angeles. I've sung in over 1,000 recordings and movies and records and commercials and things like that. And so one of the music supervisor of Disney called me one day, and he said, you're really good. You got a great reputation for working with people and conducting kids choirs and, women's choirs and things like that. So he called me in and he says, why don't you work with Mark Shaman, the composer, and try and figure out how you are going to make girl group tunes into hymns and hymns into girl group tunes, right? So that was the first day we had. I hired a bunch of ladies, more mature women, and we sat around and figured out all these songs and which would be good and not good and stuff like that, So, you know, it came down to my God and I will follow him and Hail Holy Queen and things like that. And so to me, it was just another day in the life, just a session, right? So next thing I know, I get a call from the Disney casting office and they say, could you come down and we want to see what you look like because we're going to add, you know, 1 or 2 ringers into this choir, right, of actresses. So I had a nun's habit from an opera I was in when I was in college in Chicago. So just for fun to go down to this interview, I put the top half of the habit on and the bottom half was just like a black dress, you know, plain black dress. And I put the top, the whole facial thing, everything on, and I go to this interview and I walk in and they were like, you know, they thought it was pretty cool. So I showed them the resume and they said, they looked over the resume and they said, wow, okay, this is great. Thank you very much. I mean, I literally was in there maybe 2 minutes tops. That's it. So I left and I thought, okay, well, that's fun. You know, I go driving home. Next thing I know, I'm on the freeway going to another session. This is about 2 weeks later. And I get a phone call and it's the casting office again. And they say, the director would like to see you. And by the way, dress the same way. So I said, well, great. When do you want to do this? And they said, now.
Okay.
Now. So I had to turn the car around, you know, and go back home, wash the makeup off. You know, this time I put the entire nun's habit on. And, you know, I had some black wraparound glasses. And at the time I had a hot red Celica. So here's this nun going down the freeway like crazy to get to this audition. Mm-hmm. You know, look, people were looking at me out of the car windows, you know. And so I went in and walked in and talked to the director. And I really didn't know what the movie was about. I didn't know anything about it at the time, right? And so he goes, wow, he says, we've been auditioning women all over the country for this, you know, hundreds of women, and we don't have anybody your height. I'm 5'10", and your look, you know, and we heard you were really good at wrangling nuns and teaching people how to sing and stuff like that, you know. And so the director, Emilio, said, he says, I've never done this before in my career, but I'm going to hire you right on the spot. I said, hire me for what? And he said, you don't know? I said, no, I don't know anything about this. And so he said, well, it's a movie starring Whoopi Goldberg, and it's about, you know, these choir nuns and so forth and so on. And I said, okay, great. Thank you. Let me think about it. He said, okay, I can see that, you know, because you're a busy studio singer, you'd have to give up about 6 months of doing studio work, you know. So he says, I understand. He says, go think about it and call me in the morning. So I thought about it and I prayed on it. And I called him and I said, well, I guess I'm called to do this. So yes, I would look like that and be the tambourine waving choir nun and, you know, just kind of be in charge of nuns and stuff like that, you know. So that's how I got into that. It was pretty, again, it was just like a fluke, you know, it was just one of those things, but I was there. So I guess the definition of success is when opportunity meets preparation. So I was prepared and there was the opportunity and that was the success of that. And it was interesting because when we were shooting the film, we had 21 different writers. So no one really knew what was going to happen. Sometimes they'd shove the script under the door of the hotel room and say, you know, we're picking you up at 4 a.m, get on the bus and go here and have your lines ready or your reactions ready or whatever it is. And I remember when we were shooting at the church in San Francisco at one day and we had all the extras in there and I was talking to people on the breaks and the people were like, wow, this is great. If church was like this, I'd go back to church, you know. So it was really interesting and a lot of fun. And that's kind of when I had an inkling of, you know, this movie might actually make it. Yeah. And here it is 25, 26 years later now. It's a classic, you know. Yes. We had a really cool reunion with Whoopi on The View last year. Those remaining of us who are still alive, you know, we went and okay. That was just great seeing everybody again.
How was it working with Bill Duke?
Oh, he was great. Very genteel man, very nice. Yeah. You know, and that was Sister Act 2, you know, he was great. I liked Bill. Yeah, he was nice.
Yeah. He's a good bit whist player too, he says.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, a lot of your music is so calming, and I just wonder, what do you do to get yourself into that beautiful, safe vibration?
Well, first of all, I send up a prayer and I say, let me be the vessel. What do people need to hear? You know, work through me. Let me be your voice, you know, and that's every time I write music or get on the microphone to record the vocal, that's what I do. That's what I say. And that's very spiritual for me. It's very calming. I mean, the whole process of the creativity of writing music and singing and recording music for me is very spiritual. I'm thinking more in terms of that than worry about if this is going to be a hit song or make money. I don't even think about that. For me, it's just, this is my gift, this is my blessing, and I'm responsible for it. And so my part of my responsibility, I feel, is to, you know, bring in that calmness, you know, that nurturing spiritual aspect of it, you know, before I record and when I record.
That's mystic magic.
That is the mystic magic. Truly, it is the mystic magic.
Yeah. So you are constantly winning awards for your music. Like, does that notoriety help you further your vision for your life?
Well, the notoriety helps in such a way that it opens doors. People think that winning, as soon as you win a Grammy Award, you're automatically really rich, and that's not how that works. But it does help you open doors. You know, if you have to cold call somebody and you can say you're a Grammy winner or so forth, it gives you validation, and it helps make that cold call a lot easier. But yes, I'm blessed, but I still have to do the work. Without taking the action and doing the work, you know, you short yourself out of the blessing, so to speak. Yeah. And so it's nice acknowledgement, especially as I've gone through my career. You know, they say they've done studies, and when you're in your mature years and when you win awards, every time you win an award, it adds 5 years onto your life. So if you look behind me, those are just some of them. I think I'm going to live a long time.
All right. That's a good thing. Now, you've been performing internationally a lot, and you've seen a lot.
Yes.
And what in particular drove you to do the environmental justice work that you've been doing?
Well, I do some of that on my own. Two things that I've done of interest. One is I took the course by former Vice President Al Gore's Climate Reality Leadership Training. So it's like a 2 or 3 day event. And I took that training, and I've been doing a lot of workshops at different places, speaking about saving the planet and therefore saving ourselves. So do that. And my album, Color Me Home and Chromatones, are all kind of based on, you know, the planet and what it means to us and so forth and so on. But almost all my albums have a song or something about, even from early on, you know, I was very into things about the environment and so forth. And
well, I know when you brought it to Oakland, I was blowing my mind, the information, and the music was phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and then I also had the opportunity to go to India for 3 different times over the last few years to perform with another Grammy winner, Ricky Kaj, who has a lot of humanitarian awards from the United Nations and things like that. And all his music and his concerts are to raise awareness, you know, of the planet and various humanitarian things. And so I appeared as a soloist in 3 of his concerts. One was a TED Talk, actually. So I've been to Bangalore, India twice, and to Mumbai, India once. And it was, you know, very interesting. It's a blessing for me to the career that I've had, because like you said, going to Sierra Leone, see these places around the world and to interact with different cultures and different people from various different spiritual dimensions, so to speak. you know, it's just really a blessing, and it really brings it home that we're all just people. And it really hurts me to see division between people, you know, and racism and things like that. That drives me nuts because I never grew up like that. My mother taught me differently. I grew up in the mixed neighborhood in the South Side of Chicago. And then, you know, having gone to Sierra Leone and having gone to India and, you know, I've been to Japan and Australia and, you know, Canada and all over Europe and just all the different places. And I'm just going, people, we're all just people. Can we look at the big picture here? You know, we're all souls living in these bodies, you know, and the beauty of the variety of colors and the variety of hairs and the variety of everything. I just find that so beautiful. And that's
now you mentioned that there was something that you saw that was so devastating in the environment that
there are many things. Like that was the other thing is in my career in this length, different places where I've returned to seeing. So early in my career, you know, I would have an opportunity, let's say, to go to Portland or Mount Shasta area and different things like that. And then, you know, 20, 30 years later, go to the same place and go, what happened to the glaciers? There's no ice anymore. It's all gone. And that was so startling to me, you know, to see all of that gone. And then even in Mumbai, for example, because the oceans are rising and Mumbai is right on the ocean, you know, and as we were driving through the city, you know, just to see, you know, the tide comes in and the whole, you know, everybody's sloshing around in water. Or in like Miami every day, and people don't realize it, but every day in Miami in the afternoon when that high tide comes in, there's, you know, 5 or 6 inches of water on all the streets in Miami. That just blows my mind.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And we have to get on it quickly, really pronto. You know, we have to.
Yeah, we do. And we need to have people who are concerned in leadership about helping us do that.
We need good, strong leaders to help us guide us through this, because at this point, we're almost like it's almost to the point of no return.
Yeah.
Literally,
really close.
Maybe we have 5 years left, literally, before the whole planet just is like, that's it, you know, and we're going to be living in a terrible time. So it's up to us to do.
We got to get busy.
To get busy, you know, to do the work. Because this.
Now you've got all kinds of success. You got like 10 albums. Your work's on television, film, online. But yet you still take the time to do sound healing workshops.
Oh, yeah.
Explain to us how that work started for you and why you keep doing it today.
Well, sound healing work, you know, I've always, since I've been a musician, since I can ever remember. And I got into vibration when I was 9 years old and started with all of that and took courses and followed it. And I could just see in my life, you know, because I grew up playing piano, and my mother would always say, well, whenever Darlene's upset, she just goes over to the piano and starts banging on the piano, she would say, you know, practicing my lessons or playing extra loud or whatever it was, you know, and in minutes, I'd feel better. And then as I started to do more singing as an adult and so forth, I mean, even to this day, if I'm feeling a little tired or off, I have students, you know, I still go in there in my studio and I teach the lesson, because it never fails. Within about 20 minutes of singing, I'm energized, my energy is focused, I'm balanced, and I feel great, you know, so it's such a blessing. So I like to help people. I just did a sound healing summit for the Shift Network a few weeks ago, and I really like to turn people on to that. I have a quartz crystal tuning fork. I have 12 various size of quartz crystal singing bowls. But the fastest thing for healing is yourself. Like there's been tests done on cancer cells that are, what do you want to call it? Like in laboratory cancer cells. And I forget what the name's, the special name, but anyway, they have found that within about, I think it's 21 minutes, you place a dissonant interval, like a C to a B. You know, it sounds dissonant. It's not a relaxing consonant interval. It's a dissonant interval. Interval is the space between two notes. So you might play it on the piano or a marimba or whatever it is. And in about 21 minutes, that cancer cell starts dissolving. But if you're doing the singing or have group of people singing, doing this with the intention, that only takes 9 minutes and the cells start to fall apart.
Now, so, remember from your workshop that there were a number of conditions that could be healed from singing and from sound.
Yeah, that's
true. It seemed like it was a really long list.
A very long list. For singing, I mean, singing is wonderful. Like, let's say if you have, a lot of people have atrial fibrillation and the heart rate starts going crazy and stuff, you know. One of the things you can do is just start singing long tones. Take a deep breath and get it as long as you can, you know. Take another breath, and it helps if you're like on an F note or an F sharp note, but that's just, you know, fine tuning it all. Most importantly is just sing the long tone, the deep breath, sing the long tone. You do that over and over, and within a matter of less than 5 minutes, that heart rate will come down to a much more easier rate. It may not stop the fibrillation, but it'll bring the heart rate down, which is good.
Wow, with all that you do, you know, your plate is full. So what made you want to create a music education program?
To share my knowledge and all the experiences that I've had with people, because singing is just so great and it just really energizes you. So I wrote my book with 7 CDs, and now we have MP3 downloads. It's called Tune Your Voice, Singing in Your Mind's Musical Ear. It's like a self-help program for people who want to learn how to sing. And it develops the ear, it helps for listening. There's a whole CD that's just vocal exercises. There's a listening CD that you put on in the background, and it helps the ear with the acculturation process so that you can just pick up. What it does is kind of make a grid for your brain of how music is organized. So it helps you be a better listener and a better communicator. And then the one program that I love to do is called audio psychophonology. It was developed by a Dr. Alfred Tomatis, or in French they would say Tomatis. And he had some great research and great scientific discoveries. One of them that was very interesting was in 1954, he proclaimed that the fetus at 20 weeks old has a fully formed functioning ear and can hear the voice of the mother by bone conduction. And that's where he felt consciousness begins at about 20 weeks, because the ear fully formed starts building the neural pathways into the brain. So he developed this listening program that's like going to the gym for the muscles of the middle ear. And let's say somebody is dyslexic, that's an audio processing timing delay. Somebody might have ADD, ADHD, autism, memory loss. Depression is a lack of high frequency. So there's a lot of high frequency in the Mozart music that we use. And it's a wonderful program, and it's such a great thing. You put on headphones and you're listening to this special acoustically processed Mozart, mostly Mozart. And there's your earphones for air conduction, little bone conduction piece on the top for the bone conduction. And you listen for several hours, and there's different frequencies that happen, low frequencies or high frequencies, and the frequencies do different things. So in our hearing range, lower frequencies help out in the sensory motor zone, which is your balance and the coordination and math, different things like that. You would be surprised.
Wow.
And then the middle frequency range, like from, let's say, 1,000 hertz to 4,000 hertz, that's what we call the communication zone. So that's good for speech, language, matching pitch. So I can, between that and an eye movement technique that I developed that's in my Tune Your Voice book, I have helped a lot of people who think they can't sing because they can't match pitch, but I can fix that. I can help them fix that, and it's great.
Wow.
And the joy on their faces when they're actually matching pitch and feel being part of that exchange is just wonderful. And then the creative zone is where we have the higher frequencies, and those are stimulate and charge the brain, and the higher part executive functions of the brain, and memory and creativity, ideas, ideals, things like that. So when you really study this, you learn that the ear is the controller of everything. It's connected to the organs in the body by the vagus nerve. And so messages get sent back and forth. And Tomatis felt that singing was the healthiest thing anyone could ever do. You know, there's a great story, a true story, where in 1964, Vatican II proclaimed that the monks, the Benedictine monks, didn't have to chant, and they used to chant for almost 7 hours in the course of their day. And they stopped chanting, and they started, one by one, they started to get very, very ill. And they brought in all these doctors and specialists, and nobody could figure out what it was. Finally, they brought in Dr. Tomatis, and he said, "So what changes have you had in your life around here?" And they said, "Well, we don't chant anymore because Vatican II says we don't have to chant." And he goes, "Oh, okay." He writes out his prescription pad and he goes, "Go back to chanting every day." And lo and behold, they went, "That's it." And he goes, "That's it." And so they did. They went back to chanting, and one by one, they all got healthy and energized and focused, and their work was back to normal again. So,
wow.
You know, we have such healing power within ourselves, that we can help heal ourselves, and we can help heal other people. So the singing and the breathing and the toning and the intention, you have to have vibration, frequency, resonance, and the most important part is the intention. Okay, the intention to heal, the thought process. Music is the carrier wave of our consciousness. So we have that.
And they say that the last thing that goes is your hearing.
It's the first thing you get, and it's the last thing that goes when you die, because it's a matter of survival. And the interesting thing Tomatis also pointed out was that hearing is automatic. We don't have control over that. Listening, however, is a conscious choice, and there is a psychological component to listening. So let's say you want to tune out somebody's voice, like, you know, a lot of times men want to tune out their wife's voice. They shouldn't do that because they're missing a whole frequency range they should be very careful about.
Okay. Now I know, you know, things have slowed down for many artists because of the live performances being kind of stilled by the quarantines. Now, what online programs or recordings are still available so that people can experience your genius? What would you like to promote right now?
Well, I mean, on YouTube, I have a lot of videos, you know, from my albums. I don't have a lot of live performance videos. There's 1 or 2 up there now, because I haven't taken, you know, the time or the financial expertise to hire someone to do all that video editing, as we know that takes a lot of time and money to do that right. So, but the music is there, and I've made my own videos with slides, pictures that I've taken, or videos that I've taken, you know, and I've put things together. But there's a couple live ones there. I do miss performing, though. It's starting to get to me now. It's been what?
I hope that you're still getting the stuff out there for the climate reality stuff, because we need to keep that in the forefront of people's awareness.
Right. I do. I work with training people how to do the presentations. So I keep myself busy, but I do miss, you know, performing. I miss the interaction with people. I miss, you know, singing with people in choirs, and I just miss all of that, because like all of us musicians, that's just kind of our life, you know. And
we never even considered that this would even happen. It's just like, wow, we just kind of took things for granted, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. You can't be taking stuff for granted.
Well, I don't take you for granted. I know how talented you are and how giving and just
Thank you.
energetic you are. And I'm so glad that you were able to make some time to come on Mystic Magic today.
Well, it's my pleasure. I love your show. I love you. You always ask all the best questions. You're the best interviewer of all my interviewers, but don't tell everybody that. But I love your interviews. And I think you're such a wonderful, wonderful spirit. And you've helped so many people, you know.
Thank you.
I love you and appreciate you too.
I love you. This is Mystic Magic, exploring our spirit to understand our lives.
High vibrations create celebrations of light and vacations from darkness. High vibrations are calibrations, checking and rectifying sensations resulting from allegations and accusations of lesser value and dangerous declarations of might. High vibrations of sisters acting in adulation toward spirit while receiving adoration. High vibration when writing music creates meditations leading to wondrous creations. Attention to earthly considerations paves the way for many nations to conflations for health and climate regulations to stop conflagrations and assassinations. High vibrations sing mutations from dark imaginations to elations, from memory loss to clarifications, from defibrillations to revitalizations. High vibrations in music educations are reinvigorations and exhortations for revelations, and remove limitations and demarcations from hearing one another's revelations. High vibrations are spirit's conciliation and revocation of separation. High vibrations are renovations of our stagnations, replacing devastations with excitations. Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Celeste A. Frazier, and this is Mystic Magic. We'll be back next week when the topic will be principles and phrases, and my guest will be Senior Assistant Minister at Christ Universal Temple, host of Unity online radio program Truth Transforms, spiritual teacher, board member of Universal Foundation for Better Living, martial artist, and great guy, Reverend Galen McDowell. Please see our show notes to get more information about today's conversation. If you'd like, you may leave a review. For more podcasts, please subscribe. It's free. If this episode has been good for you, please feel free to support the show. You can find Mystic Magic at iHeart, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and many other great podcast venues. This is Mystic Magic, exploring our spirit to understand our lives.